She's like, I am the manager here. She's like, I
Like
help with socials.
she's like, I see the camera, I have to be there.
Yeah. My other cat doesn't care, but her, as soon as she hears my voice, she's like, I need to suddenly be in your business.
Love it. I love it. Okay, well, I see that we have some audience members. So, hello, everyone. We're so excited that you're here. My name is Brenna Posey. I'm an OCD team member. And today we have our dear partner and friend, Nicole, and her cat, Clementine, on the camera. We're so excited for this event. And one quick thing, if you guys can see, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And if you have any questions for Nicole, please feel free to submit them throughout this hour in that Q&A box. And if it's in the chat, sometimes we miss it. So make sure that you ask your questions for Nicole in the Q&A box. And the last 20 to 25 minutes, we'll have Q&A time where Nicole will get to answer your questions. So without further ado, Nicole, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Hi. Okay. I'm so excited to be here. I love NOCD. Ever since I've like discovered what NOCD was, I was like, yeah, that's right up my alley. And I love NOCD. And so I'm super grateful to be here. I'm wearing my it's an OCD girl summer shirt. It's by Marcus Pork and it's also covered in cat hair now. But it just says, let's worry of germs on the beach and repeat nonsense in our minds. And it's really cute. And there's like a fall version as well and like a winter version. So I am definitely gonna be getting those. But I was like, oh my God, wait, it is an OCD girl summer. But I did want to talk today a little bit about my experience with OCD. I have been diagnosed with OCD back in 2021. So now it'll be 4 years. I believe it was like the summer. I was like, I think I'm going to take charge of my mental health. Yeah, I think that's something that I'm going to do. Like I had all the time in the world because of COVID, and I was graduating college, and there was just like, it was a very tumultuous time in my life. My mom was just diagnosed with two cancers. She was going through treatment. It was just so much on the noggin. And I was like, yeah, I should probably figure this out because I was definitely more anxious than I ever was before. I've always, been kind of classified by everyone else as like a anxious person, but I never knew like the specific, I didn't know it was OCD. Like I had no idea that it was OCD. There's only been like a few instances in my life where somebody has mentioned to me, like, have you ever gotten tested for OCD? And it was by people with OCD. One was a friend in like middle school who was diagnosed, and his specific things that he would do was like checking the doorknobs. He had like a specific amount of times, and I was like, oh well, I don't have that. I was like, I do not struggle with that. So clearly I don't have OCD. But I related to some of his struggles. I had another friend in college. He had OCD, was diagnosed with OCD, was going to an OCD specialist, was going through ERP. And one day we're like working together, we're studying together, and my boyfriend wasn't answering for a while, like his phone or text or whatever. And my immediate thought, like, I did not think to myself, like, oh, he could be busy. Like, my first immediate thought was, oh, he's dead. Like, I just immediately thought that. So I started Googling North Carolina State University bus crashes, shootings, like, just like in general, just the worst possible things coming to mind. And I was like freaking out, not doing any of my work. I like could not do any of the work. And I was telling my friend about this, and he was like, are you diagnosed with OCD? Like, have you ever even gotten tested? And I was like, no, but like, what does this have anything to do with OCD? Because like that, in my mind, that did not register that that could possibly be OCD. Anyway, so it was like very deep in the back of my mind, but not something that I ever really put too much thought into. It wasn't until I just started regular traditional talk therapy, in 2021. And I know they had great intentions. I know that traditional talk therapy, CBT, can be so helpful to so many people, but I couldn't put my finger on why I was just feeling so much worse. And like I had tried therapy through college before, like the therapist that they give through the school, and it never clicked. Like I was just like, okay, so here I am venting and I'm saying what is bothering me, but if anything, I feel worse after these sessions and I can't figure out why. And I am just like ruminating. I didn't even know that word before, ruminating. I'm like ruminating on these thoughts that I had even more so. And so it was very confusing for me. Like I was just like, I don't know what's happening. It wasn't until a few sessions in where I was having a particularly like really bad day, like what I would consider like a really, really, really difficult day for my OCD. And I started to write down just everything that I was feeling so that I could bring it up in my next session. Because I was like, okay, well, I'm not clearly like whatever I'm doing in my sessions, it's not working enough for me. So let's write down every distressing thing that I'm thinking throughout the day. I remember this day so clearly. It was like I went to Staples that day. That was my day. So Staples was my origin story of my figuring out I had OCD. But I was writing down like what these specific negative thoughts were in my mind and just writing them down in my notes app. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is all day and constant. And it's the same ones happening nonstop. And I was just like very taken aback by that because I had never seen it actually like I never had visual because I would have these horrible thoughts in my mind or these intrusive thoughts, and I would put them to the back of my mind, or I would be worried about something and ruminating about something, and I would get the reassurance and ask for the reassurance from like my loved ones, and then, the cycle continues. So I brought that to my therapist's attention, and she was like, "So we are going to test you for OCD. That is going to happen." And I think we did about 2 days of testing, and that's when I was diagnosed. And I didn't realize at the time that CBT was still not the right therapy for me or for OCD. And so I'm really happy that, our session, like our relationship just naturally ended because she was starting a different job. I moved to Philadelphia on my own once I kind of got a handle on my mental health. I also decided to get medicated for OCD. And so I started working with a psychiatrist. And that's when my psychiatrist really recommended, like, you should probably try ERP if you're already going through the steps of you're willing to do medication and you're clearly willing to do therapy. You should probably do the therapy that's like best suited for you. And I was able to move out for the first time on my own, which I didn't even think was possible before because I was just in such a difficult spot with it. And so I ended up moving out on my own. I started ERP therapy and it was genuinely the best decision I ever made in my life. Being transparent, like I've been told before, and I can agree with the sentiment, like sometimes it does feel like it gets worse before it gets better because you're confronting all these things that you are holding down deep inside of you and you have never addressed or let come to the surface or you've been too embarrassed to even talk about before. Particularly mine, like I just felt like I think everybody who struggles with this can agree it's very the things that people with OCD struggle with can seem embarrassing or can seem like humiliating or things that you don't even want to share with the general public because you're like, the perception of me will never be the same. And so I couldn't even tell like the closest people to me what some of my intrusive thoughts were or what the things I was obsessing over. So one of the main things that I had obsessions over was the fear of being pregnant. And I realized that I've had this since I was a child. Like I held it like it all started with the show I didn't know I was pregnant, which bad show for me, bad show. But it was basically just about cryptic pregnancies. And so I had it even as a child. I was like, oh my God, I'm the 8-year-old Virgin Mary. And it didn't get worse until I was in college. And it was so bad, like I was sneaking out of the house, like when I still lived at home and I was like taking pregnancy tests, like at the local CVS and then like, making sure to throw them away so that nobody knew that I was taking pregnancy tests. And even when I would get a negative, I wouldn't believe that it was actually negative. And I would get my period and I would be like, I faked my period. I actually faked my period. I can't believe it. And that truly was my way of thinking. And if I try to explain that to somebody without OCD, like, what do you mean? Like you had proof, you had physical proof that you were not pregnant. And it did not matter to me. I could go to the doctor. I could go to the OBGYN, get a pregnancy test there. And they would flat out tell me you're not pregnant. I'd be like, somehow I still believe in my mind that I could be 8 months pregnant and I'm gonna pop one of these days. And like that was my mentality. And it was every single day. That's an understatement. It was an every single like 5-minute concern. Like it was like something that was weighing heavy on my mind constantly. And especially around the time of my period, it was even worse. It was even more triggering. It got to the point where I wasn't able to like consume content at all around like pregnancy. Like the show Jane the Virgin, off the table. Never watched it, couldn't watch it. Anything that had to do with pregnancy like instantly ruined things for me. Like if I was reading a book and then at the end, like the character gets pregnant. I'm like, I hate this book. Like I actually like this ruined everything for me. It was so bad. And like even being around pregnant people, it wasn't that I genuinely thought like, oh, I will get pregnant, but it was more so about like, oh, I'm putting myself and the energy around pregnant people. Like my mom would, for example, say like when she was pregnant with me, she would see pregnant women everywhere. Because that's kind of like if you have a red car, you start seeing red cars everywhere. You just notice the things that are most common. Like that's how coincidences do genuinely work. But my brain was telling me it was a sign. Like it's OCD was telling me it's a sign that you're seeing pregnant people around. It's a sign that you're getting advertisements for diapers. It's a sign like clearly like the universe knows that you are pregnant. And that's when I really had to go through deep exposure work with an ERP, which was a lot of making baby registration like sites. I had to not take my pregnancy test. I bought like a 50 pack off from Target. Yeah, I couldn't, I had to just toss those. And I had to be like, I can't take these pregnancy tests anymore. And if I am going to take one, it has to be an actual reasonable reason to do that. A lot of like I couldn't check my body anymore. Like it was a lot of things that put me in such an uncomfortable place, but it was so necessary for me to in order to get better. And it was like sitting with the discomfort and like having to basically work through therapy every single week and being like, and maybe I am 8 months pregnant. And I guess I'll just deal with it when the baby comes. And like that is genuinely like the mentality that I had to get to understand that OCD could not control my life anymore. And so it took a lot of work. It took a lot of work, but it was the best work that I could have ever done because it was like it's long-term effects and benefits that I got from putting in these hours of my life into. And I love past Nicole for doing that because I don't think like present day Nicole would be like just like living the life that I do now or being happy or like anything had I not put myself through the hours of therapy in order to get better. And through that, like the pregnancy thing, like I never ever thought that that would not be a concern of mine anymore. And it really isn't. Like it's really not a theme like with my OCD that is very popular anymore. Like it's really like sometimes, you know, people with OCD, at least some people like they will go through phases of like what is the specific theme that is really like triggering them and bothering them. And like happy to say it is something that's like behind me. Um I was able to finish with ERP therapy, like considered graduated or whatever, just because like I've completed the work. I kind of know now what to do for myself. And like there have been moments where I've had, you know, lapses or like I need the extra support and I'm able to go back and still meet with my therapist. But overall, my quality of life in general, like OCD does not rule my life anymore, like by any means. And it truly used to, like it took up everything. Like it really did. It affected the way that I was with my friends, my family, my relationships, like having a fear of harming others, having this fear and obsession over potentially hurting others, getting your family sick, that was all really difficult, especially during a time of like my mom being ill. And like the way that I was during that time, like even just my relationships with my family at the time, like I look back and I think how much I could have benefited had I started ERP sooner, had I actually like learned the skills to help sooner. Because not only did I make my own life extremely, my OCD was making my own life extremely difficult, but it did cause unnecessary strain, I think, around for some of the people around me because I didn't know how to handle it best for myself. And I think that was like a big motivator was that I was like, I want to better myself, not only for myself, but I want to be a better daughter. I want to be a better girlfriend. I want to be a better friend. I don't want to constantly be putting the anxiety and stresses of these things on other people by being tricky and being sneaky and asking for reassurance. And like, I I'm happy that I have people in my life who now are very strong-willed and will tell me like, "Hey, I know you're seeking reassurance. Like, we are not going to be giving that to you." My favorite thing is that my best friend Jake, he if I am seeking reassurance and he knows I am, he'll always just go, "I think you know the answer to that." And I hate him for it, but I'm also so grateful for it because it's what I need. Um, and over time, I really don't think that my life could be kind of at the point where I am. I feel like my relationship with my family is better than it ever has been. With my friends is better than it ever has been. My romantic relationship is better than it ever has been. And I think that's because I put in so much time into understanding myself and why what even is OCD, because like how could you even help yourself when you don't even know anything about the thing that you have? Because all I knew OCD as was like literally like, okay, obsessions with cleaning, okay, like constant checking of things that I didn't necessarily struggle with how it's portrayed in the media or how like people traditionally see OCD as. And that can be really difficult. I didn't even know that like the pregnancy obsession, I thought I was a freak. Like I was like, oh my God, turns out so many other people have it. So many other people have it. And I had no idea because I didn't ever think to like Google. Like I was Googling, am I pregnant? I wasn't Googling other people thinking that they're 8 months pregnant, even though it's like physically impossible. Like I wasn't doing that because I didn't think that that was related to OCD whatsoever. And that's just like one asset of it. There's so many other things that so many other people are struggling with. And like, they're so scared or embarrassed to say out loud because of judgment. But like, if anything, there really is no judgment in ERP. Like, there really isn't. And like, ERP therapists have heard it all. And like, it is, they know that it is not, your thoughts are not you. Like, it is just a symptom of what OCD is. And it is not a reflection of what you are thinking. And OCD also attacks the most, like the things that you care about the most. And so that realizing that has made me a happier person because it was almost like I was like entering a point of like self-hatred because I was like, why do I constantly feel this way? Why am I constantly thinking these awful negative thoughts? Don't even get me started on like law of attraction and spirituality because for me, I mean, for some people, it's awesome, it's great. A lot of times for OCD, it can be a huge trigger because following like manifestation and law of attraction and everything, getting told like if you have a negative thought you are attracting that into your life, that was the worst thing ever for me. Like that was terrible because I was like, I have no control over this, like, and I'm constantly thinking beyond negative thoughts. I'm thinking the worst possible things ever. So once I realized what worked for me, what OCD looked like for me, um I can't even like emphasize how much it has benefited my life. I don't know where I would be, what I would be doing with my life right now, like had I never even started the journey or in the process of getting better with OCD. And I also don't know where I'd be if I didn't like openly talk about it because originally with OCD, I was planning on never sharing it. I like literally got the diagnosis and I remember saying out loud, I'm never telling anyone that I have this because I'm so deeply ashamed and embarrassed and I don't want anybody to use this against me. And then I've been so lucky that I'm able to go online and make YouTube videos. And I sometimes bring it up in casual conversation, or sometimes I bring it up in like whole dedicated videos about it. And seeing the impact of people telling me that either I have helped them gain the courage to seek a diagnosis or like start therapy or whatever have you, or even that they didn't even know that what OCD could look like because of just how it's portrayed in life and how it's misrepresented. That has been like the biggest blessing ever. And I'm so grateful that I've talked about it. And if anything, it just made me realize how much bigger of a community there is out there that struggles with the exact same thing or their own, certain thing that they struggle with. And it's very nice to feel not alone when you felt so alone for so many years of your life. I mean, I was 21 when I got diagnosed. And from what I can tell, and from, talking to my mom, OCD was definitely something that was a part of my life since I was a child. Like I was exhibiting signs since I was a kid, especially with like religious and scrupulosity OCD. And it was really hard. It was hard. It was hard growing up a Catholic in the church as like with somebody with OCD. And so um a lot of that basically it shaped like my formative years. And it like I had to kind of discover since then, like, okay, who am I healing from OCD? What is my personality and what is OCD? Like what are all of these things? And I really like, and I mean this so seriously, like without ERP, I don't think that I would be able to like lead the life that I do now. And so I'm just so grateful for it. And I'm just like very excited that more people are starting it and getting their diagnosis. And it's awesome. It's just like I'm very, very grateful that just talking about it and sharing my story about it can help people. And it's been great.
Nicole, that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think one thing that maybe people will hear will relate to is, you had heard about OCD, but you didn't know what you were going through was OCD. And I think a lot of people will see different OCD themes and intrusive thoughts on the internet and they won't see theirs. And so they're like, wait, so this isn't OCD. But I think it's important to note that, like, just because you don't see your theme or your intrusive thoughts or whatever you're going through online does not mean that it's not OCD you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, let's get into the questions. All right. This person said, "Love you, Nicole. Hee hee. Also, what is life like after therapy? What differences do you see in your life?"
Ooh, I feel like I've seen so many differences in my life, but like the main thing is that I have so much more time, like which is crazy to say, but like I did not realize how many hours of my life some days were being taken away by OCD because I was like physically like paralyzed with the anxiety and the fear of whatever intrusive thought or obsession that I was currently having and like how long I was spending checking, how long I was spending asking for reassurance, how long I was spending Googling. Like that is not a part of my daily routine anymore. I thought that was a part of everyone's daily routines. Like I look back on that and realize like oh wow. Like I really was wasting a whole lot of time. Like I wasn't getting sleep. Um I was not doing any of my hobbies or interests because I quite frankly just didn't have the time to because I thought that it was normal to be sitting there and worrying about these things that in the grand scheme of things did not make sense, but in my head made perfect sense. I remember I would like literally spend hours like body checking and like taking photos of myself and convincing myself that like I looked pregnant in photos. And I would then like send them to my friends at like 1 in the morning and being like, please tell me like, do I look pregnant? Yes or no? Like I need answers immediately. The endless like doom scrolling on like Reddit forums, endless doom scrolling on just any type of forum possible, not healthy, not smart. And that's it's exactly what that is. It's doom scrolling, endless research. I have so much more to do in my day. Like I just like I'm able to fill the time up much better because I'm not spending my whole entire life away consumed by OCD. I would say that's like probably like the biggest change, other than like me being like a happier person. But having time back, that's very cool.
Yeah, I totally relate. I think one of OCD's biggest things is that it just takes up so much time, and you're
Yeah.
like, I want to live my life,
Yep.
and it makes it feel like it's the most important thing in the world, to try to solve whatever's going on in your brain. All right, next question. Hi, Nicole. I love your videos. How did you persevere through therapy even when it was difficult?
Mm. You know what? I really am happy that I kept hearing that sentiment of like, sometimes with ERP, like it can get worse before it gets better because like I'm so happy I pushed through that because had I not, I would have quit like a few weeks in and I wouldn't have seen any of the benefits from that. I mean, luckily with my therapist, like I was very transparent. I'm like, I'm going through a really hard time. And it was a lot of like giving myself grace, giving myself that time to really struggle. Like I was allowing myself to have that time and just accept that it's okay to not be okay, as cliche as that sounds. But like I really had to accept that because I was like, I'm going through something really difficult. Like I'm going through a literally like life-changing process of going through ERP, and this is going to take a lot of time, but like it's going to be worth it in the long run from all the studies that are shown, all the people that, sorry, that's Clementine. But all of that, like to say, is that being able to like my friends were aware of what was happening. And so I was really lucky that I had a great support system around me who was checking in on me, trying to keep me busy, so that I wouldn't be able to just sit at home and like ruminate about my thoughts, like keeping me out of the house. I think during that time, it was around summer. So I was trying to be in nature as much as possible. Like I loved hiking, and that was like a really good thing because I find that the more that I am online or the more that I am like on Twitter per se, or like I said, these forums and like endless doom scrolling, the worse I feel and the more inclined I feel to seek reassurance. So like getting out there and like literally touching grass helped me so much. Obviously having cats and like having someone to take care of was really nice because even though like I wasn't doing well, I was like, they need me to get up, they need me to play with them, they need me to feed them. Um, and that was super important. And also like hearing so many people's like success stories of like ERP changed my life. I was like, wait, that could be me. Like that could be me if I just have this patience and give it time. Um, and yeah, it was definitely like celebrating the small wins was awesome. Like even being like, wow, I was able to do something today that I wouldn't have been able to do literally a few months ago. Or like, wow, I was able to go an entire day without Googling something for reassurance. Like those are wins. And like I celebrated all of those wins. And so I think that's probably like one of the most helpful things that you can do for yourself.
I love that. Celebrating the small wins. That's important because ERP, I mean, you said it yourself, you tried different forms of therapy and you felt like it didn't make your OCD improve, you know? And so I'm sure going into it, you were like, okay, we're just going to give it a shot, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Um, okay, to go off of the question about ERP, we have a good one. It says, I have had 2 sessions with ERP. I feel like I haven't seen much of a difference and it's kind of making me discouraged. How long do you think it will take? I feel like I struggle with seeking reassurance with my boyfriend and friends a lot.
Yeah, 2 months, you're just like literally at the start, baby. Like literally, like that is just the very beginning. And so like you're gonna be so excited once you continue your sessions and you are literally like, wait, I see an improvement. So like literally, like I said, like celebrating those small wins. I mean, 2 sessions, that is so extremely fresh. It's hard to say, like for anybody, like there's no specific time limit of like when somebody is going to get better. Like there's no like, okay, at the 6 week mark, okay, at like the 8 week mark. Like it doesn't work like that. For me, I ended up being in ERP in total of, I believe it was like about 2.5 years until the point where I was like, okay, we feel like and at that point, like towards the end, I was weaning off and like I went to sessions once every other week, really only meeting during like really, really stressful points in my life because that's kind of when my OCD tends to get worse is when I'm in like a lot of people are like that, lack of sleep, high stress situations, health issues, like that, those can all like really trigger OCD and being worse. But there's definitely no time limit, but I would say every single week when you go, you should celebrate those small wins and also like be communicative with your boyfriend and your friends. Like, hey, when I am seeking reassurance, this is actually what you're supposed to do if you actually want to help me, which is not giving you reassurance, which is like giving responses like, I think you know the answer to that. Or like, you get your answer once and then them saying, like, I already answered that question. Like, I already told you how I feel about that. Whatever it is pertaining to what you're seeking reassurance for. But I think having that support system around you, understanding what's going on, and also celebrating your small wins with you is going to be so crucial. But yeah, 2 is just the beginning. I think that's awesome that you're even going. So you should be proud of yourself, even for that.
I totally agree. Speaking of support systems, someone asked, how do you explain your OCD symptoms to your closest family? I've had a hard time explaining it to my mom because she doesn't understand it.
I feel that. My family is from Poland, and so also like just the generation of which they're from, like mental health is like not talked about like that. And especially like OCD, they also have like the typical stereotypes of what OCD is as like the forefront of their mind. And so honestly, like with my family, I chose which family members to tell to be honest. Like I have family, but not everybody knows. And like I also feel strongly about that. Like not everyone needs to know. Like it's, what you choose to share. But to the people who you do choose to share, I honestly recommend sharing articles with them. Sometimes I find that like speaking to your family as much as that is like helpful. Sometimes literally, especially like parents need to read like an article about it to understand like what's going on so that they can read exactly like what the textbook definition of it is. Um, and then also you sharing your own experiences and like topics that you feel comfortable sharing about. Like I eventually got to it, but I eventually felt comfortable telling my mom about the pregnancy OCD and like how that was affecting me. And I also was more open with her about like, yeah, I have really big obsessions and intrusive thoughts about something really horrible and awful happening to you and that it's all my fault and I'm like completely responsible for. That was something that was more like manageable and easier for her to understand because she's like, oh, of course, that's something that a lot of people are worried about. Not to the extent that you are, but like. But I think being comfortable sharing, you don't have to share everything, like with your own time. What you choose to share, that's like between you and your ERP therapist. But I think kind of giving them examples and like also articles and like resources. Um, Even there's like some YouTube videos of like people explaining their own OCD experiences. I feel like that's been really helpful. I just had to find articles like in Polish and like show my mom that and being like, all right, read this on your own time. And then she's like, okay, got it. Like I understand more. Um, Sometimes family, it's just a little bit extra hurdles to jump through for them to understand, essentially.
A great answer. Yeah. I feel like it can be challenging whenever you have OCD, one, yourself, but two, trying to explain it to someone that maybe doesn't understand mental health, it can be challenging.
Yeah.
Mackenzie asked, are there any books or media that you found helpful alongside therapy?
Ooh. You know what? I wrote off books for a little while just because I did read one book. And it was called, I think it's Every Last Line or like Every Last Word or something like that. I openly like talk about how I don't agree with this book, and I think a lot of like professionals within OCD do not recommend this book. It's not a representation of like what OCD, will always look like. Clementine agrees. I don't know if you heard her, but essentially like I read this book thinking like, oh my God, I found somebody who I can relate to. Like it's this young girl with OCD struggling. And she finds a friend who she confides in. And essentially the book, it really messes with you. And then it turns into this girl basically was actually in active psychosis the entire time. She was not in OCD, which is something that a lot of people with OCD struggle with. Like I also have that as a theme, of worrying and fearing that I am in psychosis. And so to read that like in a book, like the author did not confide with anybody who had OCD, did not speak to any professionals about it. Like it was just made for entertainment. That was a big shame. But there are some people, like for example, like John Green, who does have OCD, who writes about OCD in such a beautiful way. Turtles All the Way Down. I know I need to read that book. And also, I'm so sorry. Clementine's screaming. That's just like her. She like agrees with everything I'm saying. She's like, yes. Turtles All the Way Down. I know that that's a very good book and a very good show that just came out or a movie. And I really want to give that a try. But okay, this is going to be really random. Big Mouth. Big Mouth, I know it's such a raunchy show. I know it's so gross. The guy, John Mulaney, the character that he plays, it's a very accurate representation of what OCD is. It's like completely accurate. His character like totally believed that he had killed his grandfather because he didn't go through a certain routine, and it was like comedic, it was funny, and it was just like, but it was so accurate, and it like showed what the distress can actually look like. that was like a spot on thing. So honestly, I do recommend John Green and Big Mouth.
I love that. I haven't heard of Big Mouth. I'll have to look into that. But shout out John Green. We love John Green here at NOCD. He's awesome. Turtles all the way down. I actually watched it recently. It was the first time I'd watched something where I was like, yeah, that perfectly explained OCD. It's you don't see OCD portrayed in
Yeah.
what it really is in media a lot of times. And that was the first time I was like, yeah, this is what it looks like. Yeah. Okay, I have a question for you, actually, Nicole, because I'm curious. Now that you kind of have a following and you make videos online, you have an online presence, how does OCD latch on to that, or how does that impact your mental health and OCD in general?
It does big time. It does big time. I will not lie. I have a really, really big false sense of responsibility. Like I have become very anxious before uploading any type of videos now at this point because I think to myself how this could possibly change the trajectory of someone else's life, even if it has nothing to do with OCD. Like it could literally be like a makeup tutorial, like I posted the other day, and I now do struggle with OCD, and anxiety and symptoms before uploading a video because I think about the what ifs. Like, what if somebody perceives this as wrong, or what if someone perceives this as negative? I'm very, very, very fearful of people misconstruing my words, or something that I say may potentially hurt someone. That's been really difficult. I've dealt with that kind of like my whole life, just like in person, like speaking in general. Like, I do not want to hurt somebody. Clearly, I have like, um, fear and harm OCD, but it's kind of translated now into the audience of like, oh no, what if I say this thing and people misconstrue it and I end up really, really, really offending someone, or really like my joke didn't land, and it's a lot of it used to take up a lot of time where I was like checking comments to make sure and see what was being said about me. Not healthy for anybody in the slightest, like OCD or not, it's just not a healthy practice and do not recommend at all. And so I've been trying to limit that as much as possible. Like I will give myself limits of like, okay, I can read comments or I can read DMs for like this amount of time. But I can't go overboard because I know when it starts to trickle down. I also know like the Googling and the checking, and like could I sit there and like go on reddit.com and like check to see what is being said about me and make to have that reassurance that like, okay, I'm not hated today? Sure. Is that a healthy idea? Like, it's not healthy for me to consistently be doing that. So it's been a lot of setting boundaries and realizing what are triggers for myself. And also understanding like intentions, and like kind of a little mantra that I say to myself, like, once I put this out there, I am kind of like not in control, even though I could have the best possible intentions. I don't have as much control. And I have to let go of that. And like I can't control if this hurts someone else. Obviously, I don't want it to, but I'm fully aware that like for the rest of my life, I am gonna hurt someone else. Like, even though I don't mean to, but I know like I will hurt people at one point or another, intentionally or not. Or not intentionally, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to do this, but I have to accept it. And kind of that freedom, it's kind of freed me a bit.
Wow, that was great. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, Next question. Hey, Nicole, I also have scrupulosity OCD, and I feel like that is kind of rarely talked about. Can you talk about your experience with this a bit? And also, I'm the girl who gave you the custom Sunny Angel at your Chicago show. So hello again, LOL.
It's standing in my office, and I was like, oh, I wish I brought it. I mentioned it in my makeup video yesterday. And I love that Sunny Angel so much. Thank you so much for that. Scrupulosity OCD. Yeah, I grew up Catholic. My therapist always mentioned, she's like, yeah, the people that are often very affected by OCD are the ones growing up playing baseball or Catholic, because there's just so many rules within it, and so many like superstitions within it as well. And yeah, it was difficult. My whole family is still Catholic. I used to really struggle as a kid with when something bad would happen. Like I would just kind of pace around my room and pray. And I would like name every single person in my class at the time. Mind you, I was like I don't know, like 6 years old or something. And if I messed up or if I forgot someone, I would have to start all over again. And then like I thought, oh, well, clearly like I'm not a good enough, Catholic, or I'm not a good enough person if like these things that I'm praying for aren't coming true. And I've had to realize that although religion and OCD can absolutely work for some people, simultaneously, I think for me, it is just something that I'm not able to do simultaneously, at least not right now in my life. There was a period of time where I was like very spiritual and like I was like, all right, I'm no longer Catholic, but like I'm spiritual and I believe in the law of attraction and manifestation and all of these things. And like I even made videos about it. Like if you go back on like my channel, like it's like a kind of a diary of like what my life, like what I was like truly believing in, but it ended up causing me more anxiety than benefits. And I think that if you have OCD and you're able to balance that and find a way for that to work for you, I think that's awesome. For me, as a part of my journey with OCD, I have had to let go of any and all religion, spirituality. Like that is just not part of like my life right now. And that's not to say it never will be, but it is a big trigger with my OCD. And so for as of right now, it's just something that I have to be without. And so, oftentimes I do love memes of like, ex Catholic guilt and like, like growing up Catholic and the guilt of that. And like I do love laughing at the jokes, and it does help me cope a bit because I still heavily struggle with that. And I think that's a lot of I had this endless guilt feeling, and I can see how these things are connected for me. Me growing up having OCD, and then how it could be definitely triggered by like my family's faith. But as of right now, it's just something that I cannot necessarily partake in.
Yeah, that's super relatable. Thanks for sharing. Um, so earlier you were talking about whenever you're asking for reassurance from a partner or someone, someone asked, what are some other phrases your friends and partner can say gently to not give you reassurance?
Mm. Yeah, my best friend always goes, I think you know the answer to that. And the way that he says it, he does it exactly like that. Um, we cope with humor, and also I think it like helps kind of like snap me out of it a little bit because I'm like, you know what I'm doing. And like oftentimes with OCD we try to be so sneaky about it and like try not intentionally, but you know we're subconsciously being kind of trying to weasel our way in to like get this answer. Like we'll go to no ends, like, and if you struggle with OCD, you will go through some extreme lengths and jump through great hoops to get reassurance. Like I have done things that I am not proud of in order to get reassurance. Um, like like a lot of things. And so having the people around you being comfortable to like, if that's humor that you cope with, where like being honest with you, also being like, I think you're seeking reassurance. Like I think that this is what this is. And I think that we should maybe cut that out. Or like, you know, you kind of have to find out what works best for you in like relationships like that, because there's different people in my life who handle that differently. Like my therapist, would say, I already answered that question. Um, but the answer to that is like my most common one that the people around me generally use. Um, but my boyfriend has definitely a hard time with that, with giving, because he wants to give me reassurance. He like wants me to feel better. And so like he really struggles with that still. Um, and so he has to like make a hard decision sometimes and being like, I'm harming you by giving you this reassurance, even though you're quite literally begging for it. And so it's it's definitely like it's a group project between, you and your friends.
It's a group effort. It
Yeah.
really is. And OCD, one thing about OCD is that it is urgent. It's
Yeah.
like, I need to find the answer right now.
Yeah, right now.
Cannot think about anything else. I have to get this answer right now.
Yep.
And just a liar. And yeah, I can relate. So, next question. How do you deal with OCD clinging onto rejection of any kind?
Hmm. Hmm. I think oftentimes, like in my experience, if I've ever had rejection, I would try and replay exactly like what happened, like replay the scenarios in my head to try and figure out where things went wrong or like where I could have improved. but that like it doesn't just stop there. Like I'm constantly repeating and thinking about the same things, like what could I have done differently? What went wrong? Um, I think honestly, getting comfortable, I guess part of that, like part of OCD is getting comfortable with the rejection in general, and understanding that we will not like OCD therapy is kind of like one big rejection. Like ERP kind of is one big rejection because you are literally rejecting all of, your wants for reassurance. You're rejecting, these beliefs that like to make yourself feel better. I That's a really, really good question. I want to like think more on that, to be honest, because as much as rejection is like a part of our daily lives, I guess I don't I want to get better at rejection. Not saying I'm not. I definitely do face rejection in life. I definitely do. But like I want to think on that more.
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
I like
That,
I like that though.
yeah. I don't think we touched on this yet. You talked about a little bit relationship OCD. Someone said, I struggle a lot with relationship OCD right now. What is your best advice for this?
Oh, you're not gonna like the answer to it. ERP. I like I really relationship OCD was like one of the biggest, like along with like pregnancy OCD, those two things were like at the forefront for me. I still struggle with it to this day. Like OCD, like it is just a part of your life when you have it. And so it is constantly working on it. Um, God, at a certain point, I had to be honest with my partner when it came time to, as I understood it better myself, because for the longest time I didn't know it was called relationship OCD. I thought I was just the worst girlfriend in the entire world. I just thought I was a terrible person. I just thought I shouldn't be with this person. Like I thought that that's what that basically all meant. But essentially, like through OCD, through ERP in general, like I feel like my relationship has gotten so much stronger because I've had to communicate so much more with myself and be so much more in tune with myself and what I'm going through. And also at a certain point, be honest with my partner. Um, I went through a lot of exposures that I had to do. Like there was a lot of exposures where I had to go and make eye contact with men. And like I that was so hard. And like that might seem silly, but like that was so difficult for me to do, to even like make eye contact with other men, um make a conversation like with a straight man, um thank someone like at the gym, like another straight man, and genuinely like look them in their eye and like have a genuine contact with them. It was hard. And that's not to say that that's necessarily what your exposure would necessarily look like, because relationship OCD can look so different in so many different ways. Like for some people, like they believe that their partner may always be cheating on them, or they themselves may be consider like always asking themselves, am I with the right person? Am I doing the right thing? Are there signs that I shouldn't be with this person? Which was something that I really struggled with. Am I cheating on my partner by talking to somebody else or looking at somebody else? And so honestly, also humor helps with that a lot. Before that was a huge concern of mine. And now I'm at the point, like with my point of recovery, I guess you could say, that like I'm able to my partner knows about my relationship OCD. I'm able to be honest when I'm really struggling with it. Um, but also humor. I love using humor to cope a lot. Like, I am I cheating on my boyfriend by going to a Joe Curie concert and like by being in love with him? Maybe, whatever. But like I'm lucky that I have a partner who understands what relationship OCD is, what it looks like, and is able to kind of joke with me, work with me on that, and be a really strong support for me. But do the exposure work, like do the work that you need to do, whatever kind of side you're coming from with the relationship OCD, because it's hard. It's so hard. And like it's not comfortable at all. And like sitting with the discomfort, God, I heard that phrase heard like so many times that it's just like I have to roll my eyes whenever I hear it. But like it's true. Like a huge thing in life is sitting with the discomfort. Maybe I am with the right person. Maybe I'm with the wrong person. What is right? What is wrong? Am I happy in this current moment? Who knows what will happen? within the next few days, next few weeks, next few years.
That's so real. Oh my gosh. I think a lot of people needed to hear that. So thanks for sharing that. I think this will be our last question. My question is, how can I overcome OCD? I've been stuck for 5 years now from so many different themes. It's draining. What can NOCD help me with?
Ooh. Okay, so if you've been struggling with OCD for so many years, first of all, I'm so sorry. Second of all, I highly recommend reaching out to NOCD. I've had multiple friends now who have tried out NOCD ever since discovering that they themselves might have OCD and how much it's genuinely helped them. Um, so ERP is exposure and response prevention therapy. So it works a bit differently than what you might consider like traditional talk therapy or like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So instead of just giving you reassurance when you may vent about a subject, it basically puts you in these uncomfortable situations or these uncomfortable places of what you may be thinking or these certain exposures in which you might have to do things that you may not normally do in order to get more comfortable with the things that may seem like the greatest fear, in order to realize that you can do these things, like you can do hard things. And essentially with that, it helps across like so many themes because a lot of my themes, like they're not necessarily like pregnancy OCD and like me being scared that I'm like going to accidentally kill my mom. Those are very like different themes. But somehow me working in ERP has been able to help because of these exposures that I've had to set for myself that work kind of like across the board. And basically getting comfortable in the unknown. Like I was a person that I needed an answer for everything. Like I was a very black and white person that I needed an answer for everything at that current moment in order for myself to feel better for the few milliseconds that I felt better until I needed the reassurance the next few seconds. And I had to become a person that was comfortable in not knowing. I had to be comfortable in not knowing the answers, not knowing what is the right or wrong thing, being comfortable in, hey, there is no right or wrong thing in many situations. Um, and that has helped me across the board, like as far as with pregnancy OCD to I'm scared of killing my mom OCD. Like that ERP with the way that it works with exposure, and it might seem like for the average person when I first heard it, like when I first heard what ERP was, I was like, I'm gonna put myself through torture. But it ends up giving you so much more relief just because of OCD does not operate in the way that, traditional anxiety may work or, it needs OCD like feeds off of reassurance. OCD feeds off of answers and correctness and like does not it doesn't like it when you basically try to challenge yourself in like logic. It doesn't work. Logic does not work with OCD. And so that's often why like CBT, it doesn't necessarily work. And that's why I really recommend ERP for anybody struggling with OCD because it is not a traditional way of therapy or a traditional way of like thinking that you may understand. It was something that I had never done before, something I had never tried, something that might to the average person be seen as like harmful. Like, how is it possibly positive of you writing over and over again in a journal, I might kill my mom, I might kill my mom? Like, how could that possibly help? But it does. For OCD, it does because of the way that our brains are wired and the way that OCD operates. And so I recommend more than anything, like giving it a try, especially if you've been struggling with this for so many years and you feel stuck and you're also like across the board with different themes. That's like, I feel like you're a great candidate for trying NoCD and like giving it a try and like it's great because you don't have to go anywhere. Like I'm being so serious. Like I also did online therapy where I had to do it through the computer. And at first I was like, how is this going to work? Because I was only used to like in-person therapy. Um, and it was so helpful and beneficial to like my life. I didn't realize like how busy I would be. My schedule would change. I was traveling, like whatever have you. I was able to make it work and it was so flexible like with my lifestyle and I I have endless good things to say about ERP essentially is that like you really cannot knock it till you try it. And like the proof is there of and the evidence of how much it does help people with OCD. And so I'm so grateful for like what it has done for me.
Love that. Nicole, your story is incredible. Thank you so much for being here. And I honestly related to a lot of what you were saying personally. I had OCD ever since I was a child, and I didn't know what it was. And the older I got, the more debilitating it got, honestly. And there was a point where I couldn't get out of bed. And I feel like I'm just now being more comfortable opening up about it because it is so debilitating. And the hardest part for me is that I did not know it was OCD whenever I was going through it. And I actually came across an OCD page on Instagram randomly. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I have OCD. So I it immediately got hope from that, just seeing a post from them, honestly, from us a few years ago. And I got hope. And then I learned that I can get better. Like OCD can be treated, right? And so I gave NOCD a call. This process was so seamless. I was nervous to start ERP therapy because just like you, I had tried talk therapy and other things and it made me worse. And so I was nervous, but honestly, I got matched with a therapist so quickly. I started therapy so quickly, started ERP, and I saw so much difference in my life and who I was so quickly, probably within a couple of months, because you really do learn the skills that you need to rewire your brain when it comes to OCD. And I didn't know it at the time, but NOCD, whenever I started, I got support in between my sessions. I could message my therapist whenever I wanted. There are support groups or in-app tools, just so much that I felt like I was being taken care of, and now I'm just so passionate, just like you are, about talking about my OCD because I know that there is hope for symptom management. And if you're struggling, if anyone in this audience is struggling, and maybe you're just like me right now, where you can't get out of bed and you're not able to function, just know like I can relate to you. There's so many people that can relate to you. And NoCD is here. We're going to drop a link in the chat where you can book a free 15-minute call with us. And you don't have to live this way forever. I'm telling you, I'm proof of that right now, where there is hope for the other side. And yeah, there's going to be a link in the chat. And our therapists actually accept over 60 insurance plans now, which is great. Please book a free call with our team if this is you. The community is here for you. And just know there's hope for you, no matter how long you've been stuck for, no matter how severe you are. I thought I was so severe, there's no way I'd be able to get out of this. But ERP therapy gives you the skills that you need to be able to face your OCD obsessions forever, for the rest of your life, whatever theme it is. So it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think it's really just an amazing opportunity that we got to have this conversation with you, Nicole, and just bring awareness to OCD. And again, NoCD is here for you. And yeah, thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing your story and for being here. And I know everybody really appreciated it.
Thank you. No, I related so heavily to what you said. Like that, you took the words out of my mouth that I wish I had said this entire session. Like literally, that is what it is. It's not that I'm like, I don't have OCD anymore. Like I'm 100% cured. It is literally just having this set of tools and the skills that you have in order to deal with this now. Like that is kind of the consensus that I came to when I was like graduated from therapy. It's like you have the skills and you're basically talking yourself through them already when you feel this. Like there isn't much more for you to learn because it seems like you have taken everything that we have taught you in therapy, you have the trust in it, and you're able to apply it now. And so that's what it is. It's like, yeah, I still do struggle with intrusive thoughts. I still do struggle with some themes. Still get new themes. Like I'm not immune to OCD at any point now. Like I have new themes that do really, but the difference is that they're not debilitating because I actually know how to deal with them rather than enable them. Which is like the biggest difference. And had that not been for ERP, had that not been for learning these tools, how would I have known? How would
Yep.
I have known to like apply these? So thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome. And I love being able to chat with everyone and it's been awesome.
You're amazing, Nicole. Again, if you want to book a call with our team, we're here for you. The link was put in our chat. Again, feel free to give us a free 15-minute call. Our team would love to chat with you. And happy Mental Health Awareness Month to everyone. Nicole, thank you again. You're amazing. We love you. And hope everybody has a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you. Have a good Wednesday, guys.